Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Hazel eyes stared back, framed by tousled chestnut hair that desperately needed a trim. A hand reached up, fingers tracing the strong jawline, the stubble rough against soft skin. The reflection was undeniably masculine, but something felt off, like wearing a suit that didn't quite fit. A deep sigh escaped as the figure turned away from the mirror. The bedroom was a mess, clothes strewn across the floor and bed, rejected outfits that failed to capture the elusive feeling of rightness. Frustration bubbled up, threatening to overflow. The buzz of a phone cut through the silence. A text from Ellie. "Hey sis, you ready for our day out? We'll be there in 15... Quinn's stomach churned with a mix of excitement and anxiety. Today was the day, the first step on a journey into the unknown. With trembling hands, Quinn typed out a reply. "Almost. See you soon." 15 minutes later, a car horn honked outside. Quinn grabbed a jacket and headed out, heart pounding. Ellie's beat-up Corolla sat in the driveway, Mia and Zoe waving enthusiastically from the back seat. "Hey, you!" Ellie called out as Quinn approached. "Hop in, we've got a big day ahead." The car ride was a whirlwind of chatter and laughter, Quinn's nerves gradually easing in the presence of such unwavering support. They pulled into the mall parking lot, and Ellie turned to face her sibling. "All right, Q, you ready for this?" Quinn nodded, swallowing hard. "As ready as I'll ever be, I guess." The group made their way into the bustling mall, Quinn's eyes darting nervously from store to store. Mia linked her arm through Quinn's, giving a reassuring squeeze. "First stop," Zoe announced, steering them towards a trendy clothing store. "Time to find your style, girl." Inside, Quinn's senses were overwhelmed. Racks of clothing in every color and style imaginable stretched out before them. Soft fabrics, delicate lace, bold patterns. It was dizzying. "Where do we even start?" Quinn whispered, feeling lost. Ellie grabbed her hand. "Let's just browse, okay? See what catches your eye." They wandered through the store, Quinn's fingers trailing over different textures. A flash of emerald green caught her attention. A flowing sundress with a delicate floral pattern. "That would look amazing on you," Mia encouraged. "Want to try it on?" Quinn hesitated, then nodded. Zoe snagged the dress off the rack and ushered Quinn towards the fitting rooms. As they approached, Quinn's steps faltered. I don't know if I can do this," Quinn murmured, eyeing the women's fitting room sign with trepidation. Ellie stepped in front of Quinn, hands on her shoulders. "Hey, look at me. You belong here, okay? We've got your back." Taking a deep breath, Quinn nodded and stepped into the fitting room. The cubicle felt impossibly small, Quinn's reflection looming large in the mirror. With shaking hands, Quinn began to undress. The fabric of the dress was cool and smooth against Quinn's skin. It slipped on easily, settling around curves that had always felt foreign. Quinn's eyes squeezed shut, afraid to look. "How's it going in there?" Ellie called out. I don't know," Quinn replied, voice wavering. "Can we see?" After a moment's hesitation, Quinn stepped out of the cubicle. The reactions were immediate, gasps of delight and wide smiles. "Oh my God, Quinn!" Zoe exclaimed. "You look incredible." Mia nodded enthusiastically. "That color is perfect on you." Quinn turned towards the full-length mirror, breath catching at the sight. The dress hugged in all the right places, the color bringing out the warmth in Quinn's skin. For the first time, the reflection looked right. "What do you think?" Ellie asked softly. Quinn's eyes welled up with tears. I think I feel like me." The rest of the shopping trip was a blur of excitement and discovery. Quinn tried on skirts and blouses, pants and jackets, each item revealing a new facet of her emerging identity. By the time they left the store, laden with bags, Quinn felt lighter than she had in years. Their next stop was a beauty salon. Quinn's stomach twisted with nerves as they entered. the scent of hair products and nail polish filling the air. "Welcome!" a cheerful stylist greeted them. "What can we do for you today?" Ellie stepped forward. "My sister here is looking for a new look. Maybe a trim and some highlights?" The word sister sent a warm rush through Quinn. The stylist smiled warmly, leading Quinn to a chair. "All right, honey. Let's see what we can do to bring out that beautiful face of yours." As the stylist worked her magic, Quinn's friends hovered nearby, offering encouragement and suggestions. The transformation was gradual but stunning. Quinn's shaggy mop was trimmed and styled into a chic bob, softening the angles of her face. Subtle highlights brought out the warmth in her hair. "Now for the fun part," the stylist announced, wheeling over a tray of makeup. "Let's play!" Quinn had never worn makeup before, and the process was both terrifying and exhilarating. The stylist explained each step, teaching Quinn how to enhance her natural features. A touch of mascara made her eyes pop, while a swipe of rose-tinted lip gloss added a soft femininity to her smile. When the chair was finally turned to face the mirror, Quinn gasped. The person staring back was herself. Truly, authentically herself. "Oh, Quinn," Ellie breathed, tears in her eyes. "You're beautiful." The group left the salon in high spirits, Quinn walking taller, more confident. As they passed a restroom, however, that confidence faltered. I need to use the bathroom," Quinn admitted, eyeing the gendered signs with apprehension. Her friends exchanged glances. Mia spoke up. "We'll go with you. Safety in numbers, right?" They entered the women's restroom together, Quinn's heart racing. A few women gave curious glances, but no one said anything. Quinn locked herself in a stall, taking deep breaths to calm her nerves. When she emerged, Zoe was waiting with a supportive smile. "You did it, Q. First of many milestones, right?" Quinn nodded, washing her hands. As they left the restroom, a weight lifted off her shoulders. Another hurdle cleared. The day continued, filled with more shopping, laughter, and small victories. By the time they piled back into Ellie's car, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city. "So," Ellie asked as she drove, "how are you feeling?" Quinn was quiet for a moment, reflecting on the whirlwind of emotions she'd experienced. "Overwhelmed," she admitted. "But good, really good." "We're so proud of you," Mia said from the back seat. "This is just the beginning, you know." Quinn nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "I know, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes me." As they pulled up to Quinn's apartment, Ellie turned to her sister. "Remember, Q, no matter what happens, no matter how you choose to present yourself or identify, we love you, always." Tears pricked at Quinn's eyes as she hugged her sister tightly. "Thank you for everything." That night, as Quinn stood in front of her bedroom mirror once more, the reflection was transformed. Gone was the ill-fitting suit, replaced by a person who looked comfortable in their own skin. Quinn smiled, running a hand through her newly styled hair. "Hello," she whispered to her reflection. "It's nice to finally meet you." The next few weeks were a roller coaster of emotions and experiences for Quinn. Each day brought new challenges and triumphs as she navigated the world with her evolving identity. One particularly memorable day came when Quinn decided to wear her new clothes to work. She stood in front of her closet, heart pounding as she considered her options. Finally, she settled on a pair of slim-cut trousers, a flowy blouse, and a blazer, professional but undeniably feminine. As she walked into the office, Quinn felt every eye on her. The whispers started almost immediately, a low hum of curiosity and surprise. Quinn kept her head high, despite the trembling in her hands. Her boss, a stern-faced woman named Patricia, called her into her office mid-morning. Quinn's stomach dropped as she knocked on the door. "Come in," Patricia called. Quinn entered, standing awkwardly in front of the desk. Patricia looked her up and down, expression unreadable. "So," she said finally, "this is new." Quinn nodded, finding her voice. "Yes, I'm exploring my gender identity. I hope this won't be a problem." Patricia was quiet for a long moment, then shook her head. Your work has always been excellent, Quinn. As long as that doesn't change, what you wear is your business. She paused, then added, and if anyone gives you trouble, you let me know. Relief flooded through Quinn. Thank you, she said softly. As she left the office, Quinn noticed a few co-workers smiling encouragingly at her. It wasn't universal acceptance, but it was a start. The weekends became a time of experimentation and growth. Quinn's friends took turns accompanying her on various outings, helping her build confidence in public spaces. One Saturday, Zoe convinced Quinn to try a yoga class with her. Quinn was nervous about wearing form-fitting workout clothes, but Zoe assured her it would be fine. The yoga studio was warm and dimly lit, the scent of incense hanging in the air. Quinn unrolled her mat next to Zoe's, trying to ignore the curious glances from other participants. As the class progressed, Quinn found herself focusing less on what others might be thinking and more on the way her body moved. The instructor's soothing voice guided them through poses, encouraging them to connect with their breath and their bodies. In the final resting pose, tears slipped silently down Quinn's cheeks. For the first time in her life, she felt truly present in her own skin, accepting of every curve and angle. After class, as they were rolling up their mats, the instructor approached. First time? She asked kindly. Quinn nodded. Was it that obvious? The instructor smiled. We were all beginners once. You did wonderfully. I hope to see you again. Quinn left the studio feeling centered and strong, a newfound appreciation for her body blooming within her. Not every day was easy, of course. There were still moments of doubt, of dysphoria so intense it left Quinn gasping for air. On those days, her support system rallied around her. One particularly difficult evening, Quinn found herself curled up on her couch, sobbing into a pillow. She'd been out shopping alone and had overheard some cruel comments from a group of teenagers. Their words had cut deep, reopening wounds Quinn thought had begun to heal. Her phone buzzed insistently. It was Mia asking if she was okay. Quinn hesitated, then called her friend. Quinn, what's wrong? Mia's voice was filled with concern. Through hiccuping sobs, Quinn recounted what had happened. Mia listened patiently, making sympathetic noises. Oh, honey, she said when Quinn finished. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Those kids don't know anything about you or your journey. But what if they're right? Quinn whispered. What if I'm just fooling myself? Stop that right now, Mia said firmly. You are not fooling anyone. You are on a journey of self-discovery, and that takes incredible courage. Those small-minded people could never understand that. They talked for over an hour, Mia's steady support helping to calm Quinn's turbulent emotions. By the time they hung up, Quinn felt steadier, the doubts quieted for the moment. As the weeks turned into months, Quinn's confidence grew. She began to experiment more with her appearance, trying out different makeup looks and hairstyles. Ellie taught her how to curl her hair, laughing as Quinn accidentally burned her finger on the curling iron. Beauty is pain, sis, Ellie teased, applying aloe to the burn. Quinn rolled her eyes but couldn't help smiling. These moments of sisterly bonding were precious to her, filling a void she hadn't even realized existed. One milestone Quinn had been dreading was swimming. The thought of wearing a swimsuit in public terrified her. But as summer approached and her friends began planning beach trips, Quinn knew she couldn't avoid it forever. Zoe took her shopping for swimwear, patiently helping Quinn try on dozens of options. They finally settled on a modest one-piece with a cute skirt attachment. Quinn stared at herself in the fitting room mirror, a mix of anxiety and excitement swirling in her stomach. You look amazing, Zoe assured her. Seriously, Quinn, you're going to turn heads for all the right reasons. The first beach day arrived, hot and sunny. Quinn's friends had chosen a quieter stretch of shore, away from the main crowds. Still, Quinn's hands shook as she changed in the beach bathroom. As she stepped out onto the sand, Quinn felt exposed, vulnerable. but her friends were waiting with wide smiles and encouraging words. "Look at you, beach babe," Mia called out, waving Quinn over to their setup. Quinn made her way across the sand, hyper-aware of every step. But as she reached her friends, their enthusiasm was infectious. Soon, Quinn found herself laughing and chatting, the initial discomfort fading. When Ellie suggested they go for a swim, Quinn hesitated only briefly before nodding. The water was cool and refreshing, washing away the last of her anxiety. As Quinn floated on her back, staring up at the endless blue sky, she felt a profound sense of peace. Later, as they were packing up to leave, a little girl approached Quinn. She looked up with wide, curious eyes. "I like your swimsuit," she said shyly. "It's pretty." Quinn's heart swelled. "Thank you," she replied, smiling warmly. "I like yours too." The girl beamed before running back to her parents. Quinn watched her go, a lump forming in her throat. In that simple interaction, she felt truly seen and accepted. As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the water, Quinn's friends gathered around her. "So," Ellie said, slinging an arm around her sister's shoulders. "Good day?" Quinn nodded, unable to speak past the emotion clogging her throat. She looked at each of her friends in turn. Ellie, Mia, Zoe, the people who had stood by her through every step of this journey. "I don't know what I'd do without you all," she finally managed, voice thick with unshed tears. Zoe reached out, squeezing Quinn's hand. "You'd still be you, Quinn. We're just here to remind you of that when you forget." As they walked off the beach together, sand between their toes and salt on their skin, Quinn felt a sense of belonging she'd never experienced before. The road ahead was still long and uncertain, but she knew she wouldn't be walking it alone. That night, as Quinn got ready for bed, she paused in front of the mirror. The person looking back at her wasn't perfect. There were still features she struggled with, days when dysphoria hit hard. But for the first time in her life, Quinn truly recognized herself. She smiled at her reflection, a genuine, radiant smile that lit up her entire face. "Good night, Quinn," she whispered and turned out the light. One morning, Quinn stood before her closet, fingertips trailing over the array of clothing she'd accumulated. The stark divide between her old wardrobe and new acquisitions was a visual representation of her transformation. With a deep breath, she reached for a cozy sweater dress and leggings, relishing the soft fabric against her skin. As she applied her makeup, a skill she'd been diligently practicing, Quinn's phone buzzed with a message from Ellie. "Big day today, sis. You've got this. We're all rooting for you." Quinn's stomach fluttered with a mix of nerves and excitement. Today marked another significant milestone, her first appointment with an endocrinologist to discuss hormone therapy options. The waiting room at the clinic was quiet, save for the soft ticking of a clock on the wall. Quinn's leg bounced nervously as she flipped through a magazine without really seeing the pages. When her name was called, she stood on shaky legs and followed the nurse down a sterile hallway. Dr. Patel was a kind-faced woman with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. She listened intently as Quinn explained her journey, nodding encouragingly. "I'm glad you've taken this step, Quinn," Dr. Patel said. "Starting hormone therapy is a big decision, but it can be life-changing for many transgender individuals. Let's go over your options and potential effects, shall we?" The next hour was a whirlwind of information. Dosages, timelines, potential side effects. Quinn's head spun, but a spark of hope ignited in her chest. As she left the clinic with a prescription in hand, she felt as though she was standing on the precipice of something monumental. That evening, Quinn's friends gathered at her apartment for a small celebration. Zoe had baked a cake decorated with the trans flag colors, while Mia brought a bottle of champagne. "To new beginnings," Ellie toasted, raising her glass. As they ate and laughed, Quinn felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. These women had become more than friends. They were her chosen family, supporting her through every step of this journey. The following weeks brought subtle changes as Quinn began her hormone therapy. She documented each development meticulously, the softening of her skin, the slight swelling in her chest. Some days, the changes felt painfully slow. Other days, she'd catch a glimpse of herself in a mirror and marvel at how far she'd come. Work presented its own set of challenges. While most of her colleagues had been supportive, there were still moments of discomfort. The first time Quinn used the women's restroom at the office, her heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. But as time passed, these moments became easier, more natural. One particularly memorable day came when Quinn decided to correct a client who had misgendered her during a conference call. "Actually," she interjected, her voice steady despite her racing pulse, "I use she, her pronouns." There was a moment of awkward silence before the client apologized and corrected themselves. After the call, Patricia, Quinn's boss, stopped by her desk. "That was well handled," she said with an approving nod. "I'm proud of how you've carried yourself through this transition, Quinn. You're an asset to this team." Quinn blinked back tears of relief and gratitude. "Thank you," she murmured. "That means a lot." As winter descended on the city, Quinn found herself facing a new challenge: the holidays. She hadn't seen her family since beginning her transition, communicating only through sporadic text messages and brief phone calls. The thought of attending the annual family Christmas gathering filled her with equal parts longing and dread. After much deliberation and long conversations with her friends, Quinn decided to go. Ellie offered to accompany her for moral support, an offer Quinn gratefully accepted. The drive to their parents' house was tense, Quinn's knuckles white as she gripped the steering wheel. Ellie kept up a steady stream of chatter, trying to distract her sister from her mounting anxiety. As they pulled into the driveway, Quinn took a shaky breath. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispered. Ellie reached over, squeezing her hand. "You can, and if it gets too much, we'll leave. I've got your back, sis." The moment Quinn stepped through the front door, a hush fell over the gathered family members. She could feel their eyes on her, taking in her appearance, the subtle makeup, the feminine clothing, the changes in her face and body from months of hormone therapy. Her mother was the first to move, stepping forward with tears in her eyes. "Oh, Quinn," she breathed, pulling her into a tight embrace. The tension in the room broke. Aunts, uncles, and cousins surged forward, some offering hugs, others hanging back uncertainly. There were awkward moments, misused pronouns, old names slipping out, but overall the acceptance Quinn felt was overwhelming. As the evening wore on, Quinn found herself in the kitchen with her father. He'd been quiet throughout the night, and Quinn's stomach churned with nerves as he cleared his throat. "I won't pretend I understand all of this," he began, his voice gruff with emotion. "But I can see how much happier you are now. That's all I've ever wanted for you." Quinn's vision blurred with tears as her father pulled her into a hug. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. The new year brought more changes and challenges. Quinn began voice therapy, working to develop a more feminine speaking pattern. She experimented with different styles of clothing, finding joy in expressing herself through fashion. There were still difficult days, moments of dysphoria that left her gasping for air, instances of discrimination that made her want to hide away from the world. But with each passing month, these moments became fewer and farther between. One sunny spring afternoon, Quinn stood before the full-length mirror in her bedroom. She was wearing a flowery sundress, her hair styled in soft waves around her face. As she studied her reflection, she realized something profound. For the first time in her life, she felt truly comfortable in her own skin. A smile spread across her face, radiant and genuine. The woman in the mirror smiled back, her eyes bright with hope and possibility. Quinn touched her reflection gently, a sense of peace settling over her. "Hello, Quinn?" she whispered. "It's nice to finally meet you." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.